brothers, I'm back with another terrifying horror movie that scared the living daylights out of us. Today, we're watching a new 2025 horror film called The Strange Train. The story takes place at Gwangnung subway station in South Korea, where bizarre deaths are said to frequently occur. A girl named Soo Shin is experiencing a strange event. Soo Shin was waiting for her train home as usual when suddenly a strange woman next to her spoke in a seemingly insignificant voice. "Soo Shin, how are you?" Soo Shin was startled. Was this person talking to him? Confused, he didn't respond and turned back to stare at the tracks. However, the cold voice rang out again. Soo Shin felt uneasy and forced out a thank you, but alarm bells were ringing in his mind. Who was this person? What did they want? Just as he was losing focus, the voice came for the third time, and this person even turned their head and looked at Soo Shin with a smile.
Soo Yin felt a chill run down her spine. What the hell was this? Terrified, Soo Yin quickly moved away from the person. After walking a short distance, he turned back to check on her. Soo Yin was too scared to meet his gaze, but as soon as Soo Yin turned her head, I heard footsteps. That person was walking towards Soo Sing. Aunt Sun wanted to call for help, but she found that everyone around her was ignoring the woman with the broken belt. A terrible thought surged in Aunt Sun's mind. If they can't see it, then it can only mean that this thing is not human. Even more terrifying was that the person holding the acid bar in her hand only wanted to disfigure her. Soo Shin was completely terrified and quickly ran away from the guy, hiding in the bathroom. Soo Shin managed to get her phone out and call the police, accurately telling them her location. The police immediately sent someone over, but the other person said, "Describe it in detail." The moment Soo Shin heard the description of the woman pursuing him, she felt a chill run down her spine. He hadn't mentioned at all that it was a girl pursuing him. How did the policeman on the phone know? It could only mean the person on the phone wasn't a policeman. At that moment, Soo Shin saw a hand reach in from above and to the side holding that glass of sulfuric acid. "Tiger, you're amazing!" As news of Soo Shin's tragic death and the haunted location of Gwanglung spread, it attracted the attention of a horror video blogger. Recently, he had been desperately seeking inspiration but lacked good material, resulting in his videos getting almost no views and him being frequently mocked by his female colleague, Xiao Chen. So, he came here today to inquire about horror stories, hoping to make his videos go viral again. Xiao Mei found the subway station administrator. She figured that since he was an administrator there, he must know the scary stories. She approached him, but the administrator refused to say anything. Xiao Mei then offered him some good wine she had prepared beforehand. Seeing the wine, the administrator finally relented and began to tell the first scary story. Late at night, a young man named Xiao Shuai accidentally fell on the subway station. A group of lucky people helped him up and sat him down. At that moment, Xiao Shuai saw a strange woman repeatedly banging her head against the wall. At first, Xiao Zai thought the other person was drunk like him, so he didn't think much of it and drifted off to sleep. When Xiao Zai woke up, almost all the passengers had left, except for an old man and the woman. At this time, the woman was still banging on the door repeatedly, and the force was getting stronger and stronger. Sensing something was wrong, the old man quickly hid in the next carriage. Seeing this, the young man, also missing his safety harness, followed suit, muttering to himself, "Is this some kind of mental patient who escaped from a mental hospital?" This was because a friend had shared a video with him claiming that someone had committed suicide by lying in a ghost position at Gwanglung subway station. In reality, clicking in, it turned out to be him. Wasn't this the woman who had been run over by the car? At this point, Xiao Shui still hadn't figured out what was going on when the old man next to him suddenly started banging his head against the wall. Xiao Zhao was completely terrified. As the two collided faster and faster, the entire train suddenly lost power, plunging the surroundings into darkness. Xiao Zhao quickly grabbed his phone to illuminate the scene and discovered that the old man and woman had vanished. But was that really the case? Suddenly, the woman reappeared and began frantically banging on the door again. After banging on it twice, his head was severed. Thankfully, it was just a dream. The train derailed and Xiao Shui quickly got off. At that moment, Xiao Shui's heart finally relaxed, but the next second, he heard the familiar crashing sound again. What's going on with Xiao Shui Ma at this moment? Is he trapped in a ghost wall? The first story ended with Xiao Shi being pushed off the platform. After hearing the story, Xiao Mei quickly wrote a script, recorded it, and posted it on Douyin. Sure enough, the video was quite popular, with many fans leaving comments wanting to see something even more exciting. So Xiao Mei seized the opportunity and approached the administrator again, asking if there were any more explosive stories. Upon hearing this, the administrator burst into laughter and then told the second story. This time, the protagonist is a homeless man with no legs. Worse still, he can only sleep in subway stations every day. Even more tragically, the few dollars he has left are stolen by a fellow thief. The man is filled with anger and resentment. Seeing the man in front of him, who has been missing the longest, he wants to rush up and kill him. But soon, the man's fate is changed by a coin. Suddenly, he found a red coin under the vending machine. Just as he was examining it, a brand new vending machine appeared beside him. The man was puzzled. What was it for? Looking at the number 1, he understood, a coin for a bottle of water. But when he took it out, he was surprised to find it empty. The uncle realized he'd been tricked and smashed the bottle on the ground. But he quickly noticed something strange. There had been a man talking nonsense just moments before, but now he'd vanished. Unconvinced, he ran over to check and found only a pile of clothes on the ground, along with 2 red coins. At that moment, he seemed to understand something. But his immediate priority was to see if he had any money so he could get a decent meal. Seeing the money, the uncle was overjoyed and quickly ran to the convenience store, buying several large hamburgers and smoking.
At that moment, the man thought it was better to be alive. After eating and drinking his fill, he went to the vending machine again. This time, it showed that it would cost 2 coins to buy it. Without hesitation, the man picked up the money, put in 2 coins, and that's when he got the Coke bottle. But as soon as he got the bottle, the man who had robbed him last time came back. Judging from his posture, he was about to rob him again. The man was so scared that he quickly grabbed the bottle. The next second, the man spoke. The man's sudden disappearance terrified the uncle. It turned out that all the missing people had been swallowed by the vending machine. As the man was completely swallowed, 3 red coins appeared next to his clothes. Seeing the vending machine return to normal, greed overcame fear, and the uncle rushed to the clothes, rummaging through them for the money. The moment he saw the money, a demon was unleashed. From that moment on, the uncle entered a daily mode of murder and robbery. But this didn't last long. One day, drunk and aimlessly wandering the subway station, he soon noticed something strange. He saw his past self in front of a vending machine. At that moment, he knew he was in an infinite loop. He tried to warn his past self, but a wave of revulsion washed over him, and his past self opened the lock, and the loop began once again. Only she herself could truly understand that despair and helplessness. That concludes the second story.
Although this story is utterly incomprehensible, Xiao Mei still found it somewhat frightening. Yuri made another change and uploaded it online. This time, the effect was even better, directly gaining her 1 million followers. All her colleagues were celebrating Xiao Mei's successful disaster. Seeing this, Xiao Chen, Xiao Mei's mortal enemy, was seething with hatred. Seeing Xiao Mei's success, she practically wanted to cheat her. To steal Xiao Mei's energy and become a sensation herself, Yuri also came to Guanlian to compete in a mukbang.
When he grabbed the handrail, he suddenly touched something sticky, like snot, and felt disgusted. Xiao Chen quickly wiped it off. The next day, when Xiao Chen washed his hands, he suddenly noticed wounds on his hands. He immediately thought it might be caused by the liquid from the previous day, so he rushed to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor said it was just a mild infection and some medicine and ointment would be fine. Hearing this, Xiao Chen felt relieved. However, when he got off work, his nose started bleeding and his palms developed honeycomb-like sores. "Are you really okay?" "No!" As Xiao Chen's death perspective shifts to Xiao Mei's side, Xiao Mei finds the administrator again, wanting him to tell more horror stories. However, the administrator says he has no horror stories there, having already told everyone he knows. If she wants more, he tells her to investigate herself. Xiao Mei, in order to continue her rise to fame,
He had decided to go. The subway station was already closed, but suddenly all the lights came on. A man was sitting nearby, playing on his phone, and he had a strange, smiling expression. Xiao Mei was a little scared. He'd come here to find horror stories. What was this guy doing here? Just then, an announcement came over the loudspeaker that the train was about to arrive. The train stopped, and Xiao Mei immediately rushed inside. The train quickly started moving, and as it slowly drove away from the man, Xiao Mei's tense heart finally relaxed. However, when Xiao Mei turned around, the man appeared in the carriage without warning and stared intently at Xiao Mei. Unable to bear his gaze, Xiao Mei slowly moved to the side, but his gaze followed her every step. Finally, Xiao Mei couldn't take it anymore, stood up and ran to another carriage. But she hadn't gone far when the entire carriage lost power. The man chased after her, but he stood at a distance with his back turned. The next second, disaster struck. Terrified, Xiao Mei quickly fled the carriage. As the doors slammed shut and the train pulled away, she finally felt relieved. However, not long after, another dilapidated train appeared before her. Just as Xiao Mei was completely bewildered, the train doors opened and she saw a walkie-talkie on the floor. Upon seeing it, she seemed to lose her senses. She involuntarily walked inside, picked up the walkie-talkie, and the carriage doors closed in an instant. Xiao Mei snapped back to reality, realizing she had been bewitched. The sun was rising, but the doors were locked.
At this moment, Xiao Mei saw the administrator. The administrator looked at Xiao Mei and simply said one sentence. It seems this administrator was a devil from the start. As the game started, Xiao Mei despaired. The scene shifts, and Xiao Mei's colleague comes looking for her. She's here to record Xiao Mei's scream, and she's a little angry that Xiao Mei hasn't shown up. But the next second, Xiao Mei appears, but she has a strange smile on her face. Clearly, this Xiao Mei is no longer Xiao Mei, but another being. All right, brothers, that's the end of today's story. See you later.